Hi, so today I'm going to play a game by Conceptis Puzzles called Pic-a-Pix. And we're going to start today with the black and whites. And if we have time, we'll do colored. If not, I'll do that in a different video. So you can see here that we have different size grids, 10 by 10s, 10 by 15s, 15 by 15s, 15 by 20s, okay? If you first install this app, you will get even smaller grids, such as a 5 by 5, just to get you started. But we've already played some games, and these are some advanced packages that I've gone ahead and purchased for $3. You get 20 more puzzles to play. If you decide that you don't want to purchase any, you will get, you start off with 4 weekly puzzles that are free, and each week one of them expires and you'll get a new puzzle. So that does give you something to play with. So we're going to do a 10 by 10 just to demonstrate how the game is done. These games were featured in Games Magazine. I believe they're called Paint by Numbers. So I love these games. So this is basically, they got the games for each bi-monthly issue from Conceptis. So these are actually the origins of the game. The way it works is you get this blank grid, 10 by 10, and you can see here we're showing on the bottom right and the right and the bottom grouping of 10, and it's grayed out, so it's showing you 10 empty blocks. So what you start off with is you look for the number on the left, and these are guides. They're basically like a crossword, and they tell you that you have a block of 9 that will be filled in somewhere in the 10 block grid you have. So what you're going to do is you're going to test out. You have a block of 9, and you can move it left or right, but there will be a continuous grouping of 9. So you're not going to have 5 and 4. For example, you have a group of 9. So we start by counting from the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this is the absolute right border. Then we count from the right side and go to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we know that from left or right, these 8 blocks in the middle will absolutely be filled in. So for example, we could either have 9 this way or 9 this way. And so to get the color, I'm single clicking. To get a dot to hold an empty spot, I'm clicking again. And to go back to blank, I'm clicking again. So since I don't know whether this block is filled in or this one's filled in, we're going to leave them blank for now. Now when you have multiple blocks, or multiple numbers I should say, it's like this 2 and this 6, you know that you're going to have a 2 followed by a break of some kind, so at least 1 block, and then a grouping of 6. You will never have 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for a total of 8. So for example, you see right here, there's no break between my 2 and my 6. If that were the case, this would simply be a single number of 8. Since it's not true, then we will not fill in that way, but I will show you how you can start doing the borders again. So I'm going to drop over here to this line that we don't have any blocks filled in, and you're going to do the same thing we did up here with the 9. So we're going to start counting from the left and work our way to the right, 1 and 2, and then we know there's going to be at least 1 block, but we don't know if it is for sure yet. So we're not going to mark it, we're just going to count it as an empty square, and then start the next number, 1, 2, 3, 4, and mark it, space, and then we don't know if this is the one or if this is the one. So we leave all of that blank. For anything you don't know, you leave blank. Now we're going to start from the right edge and count the other way. So these will be in that order. So we're going to count 1, space, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And everything in between is part of the 4 grouping. And then possible space, followed by 1 and 2. And that's all that we confidently know. Okay? So just like a crossword puzzle, we're now going to work our way across and down and across and down. And so I will work my way all the way down this list on the left and then all the way across the grouping on the right, on the top, sorry. But I want to show you how you can play that out. So I'm going to skip ahead real quick and I'm going to show you the first numbers across the top. There's nothing I know in this column, so we're not going to touch that column. The second column, the first number is a 2. So we know that you can have a block of 2 followed by at least one space. So we're going to mark that 1 for definite. And then you're going to count the next column down. You have a 1 block followed by a definite space. Then you're going to have a 3 block, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, followed by a definite single space. We don't know if there's any more spaces, but we know at least one. Followed by a 2, followed by a 5, followed by a 2, and a 1, and a 1. So this is what I mean by the crossword technique. Now we go back to the second line, and we know that this 2, this is a space, so it has to be 1, 2. This 4 was already marked out for us, 1, 2, 3, 4. And these 2 spaces are definitely marked for us. So we can go ahead and mark that one. And you can see that this clue line, so these are, you can also think of them as clues across 2, okay? This clue line is now marked with a green arrow, and the numbers are no longer highlighted in black. So that means this row is done and I don't have to think about it. The green arrow means it is done correctly. So this can be an anchor or a line for me to base off of. At this point, if I want to return to the 9 line, I see that there's not much I can do because from the top or bottom, it could be 1, 2, or it could be 1, 2. So we're going to mark our way down. Okay, and we're going to go across first. So we're going to go down the across clues. So we're going to have 1 space, 1, 2 space, 1, and then we don't know if these are 1s or not. Okay, so we do know that this is a 1 for sure because this has to be a 2. It's the only space where the 2, there are 2 blocks open. So we can't complete this line because there's a 1 somewhere in these 3 blocks. But one thing we can do is we can see that coming down, the first number in this column is a 2, and we have 2 already. So this one is definitely a space, followed by a block of 2, followed by at least 1 space, which means we can now return to the top line and complete that line of 9. Okay, so I just like to move my cursor and make sure that that is a green arrow and not a red one. So we come back over and we can finally go to the last column, at least the first number, and mark that as a space. But that still doesn't tell me which one of these is my final 1 block in that column. So we'll just move on. So 2, 1, and 1. These are a little bit tricky, okay, because here is a very tempting block of 2, but I cannot automatically assume that this 2 goes into this slot because I could have 1, 2, space, 1, space, 1, and that would fulfill this requirement. So I'm going to skip that for now and continue down the line. 1, space, 1, 2, space, 1, 2, space, 1. Okay, so I'm going to mark, the 1s are tricky. I never mark borders for 1s because unless they are a specific slot, 1s can be anywhere. So I'm not going to mark a space. I'm going to go 1, space, 1, 2. Space, 1, 2. Space, and it could be anywhere here. So I'm going to go backwards. 1, space, 1, 2. But see here, these 2 are already marked. This one came from the 5, and this one came from my original marking. Even if I didn't have this anchor right there, I can't, this is definitely not a black square, because if it were, that would be a block of 3, and there's no 3 in here. So I know for certain that this is a block of 2, and it's the right hand 2, and this is a block of 2, and it's the left hand 2. And so this has to be my 1. See, I said that I couldn't mark the 1 before because there's just not enough wiggle room, or there's too much wiggle room. So I'm going to mark that, but I can't mark my right hand 1 because there's 2 slots and there's no telling which of these 2 slots it is. So we'll come back to that. So we have the same combination, 2 2s and 2 1s, but in a different order. So let's see how that plays out. Let's mark 1 2, space 1 2, space 1 space 1, space. Okay, 1 space 1 space. This is a real space. This is not a possible space. It is definitely a space. So we can start from there. We know the 2 1s will be somewhere in these 4 blocks, but we don't know what combination. So we'll leave those 4 completely blank. But starting from here, this space, I can definitely say 1 2, space 1 2. Okay. Now we're going to go down here, and I'm going to show you that sometimes going across might net you nothing. And you're going to have to come back to it when you have more of the grid filled in. So we have 2 1 1 1. So let's go 1. Whoops. Sorry, that was my holding down finger. So what happens is you have to remember when you're just marking, like for example with a chalk and not a magic marker, and when you're putting it down for real. So I'm going to show you magic marker or chalk. I'm going to show you a chalk placeholder, and we may have to erase everything. So 1 2 space 1 space 1 space 1, and you see I have 2 more blocks of leeway. So I'm going to start from the right hand side and go backwards. 1 space 1 space 1 space 1 2. Now unfortunately these 2 are not across each other. So you have you want to have a border that bounds the absolute outsides, not borders that touch each other. So there's nothing I can do in this row. So same thing with the 3s. 1 2 3 space 1 2 3. Coming from the other side, I'm going to want to go to the left of these blocks to be sure. So let's see if I can make it to the left of these blocks. 1 2 3. So no, I'm on the wrong side of that block. And just to obstinately push forward, this might be a space. 1 2 3. So these are also unmarkable. So let me come down and go from left to right, 4 and 4. 1 2 3 4. Followed by at least 1 space. 1 2 3 4. Followed by, there's a space there. So we're going to go 1 2 3 4. Okay, so if it's confusing for me to mark the outer bounds first and then fill in, let me do it this way. 1 2 is already marked. 3 4. Space, possible 1, definite 2, definite 3, definite 4, possible space or possible wiggle room. So in other words, this block of 4 can occupy this space or this space. Okay, this right hand block of 4 can occupy this space or this space. But since we don't know, we leave the ends off. So let's go ahead and look at the final line. 3 1 1 2. 1 2 3. Space 1. Space 1. Space 1 2. Now, did you notice that I landed on the actual edge, the border of the grid? What tells me What that tells me is that this exact combination uses up exactly the number of squares. So 1, 2, space, 1, space, 1, space, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we have now successfully completed the first pass through of the acrosses. So now we're going to go down and look at the downs. So just like a crossword puzzle, we have acrosses and downs. So starting from the left edge, 2, 2, 1. First we look and see if maybe we already have 2, 2, 1. So we have 2, a block of 2, and a 1. So we're just going to fill in for sure spaces, and that gets our green arrow in this column. This column is completely done. 2, 1, 2, 2. So if we were to count 2, there's a space for a 1, there's a start of what could possibly be a 2 and a space, and that does exactly fit. So we're going to go ahead and fill it in and see if it fits. 1. So we have our block of 2. We just put in our 1. Our second block of 2, followed by a definite space, followed by our third block of 2. 1, 3, 4. We already have our 1. The 3 is possible here because 1 and then a space and then a 3 followed by a bordering space. So let's put that in and see if that fits. Followed by a definite space, followed by exactly 4 blocks. So 1, 2, and then our remaining 3 and 4. And that finishes that one. 3, 2, and 2. Now don't forget that you can be bordered from the top or the bottom. You can be bordered on the left or the right. So we have our 3 block, our 2 block, which means there's a definite space there. And then that leaves us only 2 blocks right here with that boundary space. So we put that in. We're just chugging along. 2. Now this space right here is bordered by 2 definite spaces, and it's only 1 block big. So there's no way a 5 block will fit in the 1 block. So that's an easy definite space, which leaves us 5 blocks left. This one was a 5 single, so anywhere that 5 was, the rest is going to be spaces. Okay? 2 and 6. Well, if you start from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if you start from the top, you already have 2. So this one is a definite space. So you have 2 followed by a space block of 2, followed by a colored in block of 6. 1 and 2. So we have a definite space down here followed by a filled in block. So we go ahead and complete that filled in block of 1, 2. The rest is all spaces because there's only 2 filled in blocks, a 1 and a 2. 1 and 8. Okay. And I'm going to tell you in a 10 by 10 grid, 1 and an 8 completes the row because you have 1 plus 8 is 9, plus the space in the middle is 10. So we have 2 and 2. Now, even though I haven't finished marking down all of this space, the minute that I put in my last, I don't know if you noticed, but as we've been going down, certain of the left-hand sides have been completing themselves. So I'm not going to mark these spaces because I want to show you what happens. I'm going to complete this block right here and the game will be over. So I'm just going to go across and show you that there's a 2, 1, and 1. Then here we have 1, 2, 2, 1. Then we have a 2, 2, 1, and 1. 2, 1, 1, 1, 3, and 3. 4 and 1, 2, 3. So when I put this block in, I'm going to be completing both this 4, 4 and this 2, 2. So here we go. I'm going to click it now. And the game is over, and it shows me that my picture, so this is called Paint by Numbers. So on Conceptis' app, it's called Pic-a-Pix, but it's legs. Okay, so when I hit OK, you can see that it's supposed to be a pair of legs. It looks like one of those cowboy legs or maybe a cowgirl legs with the high-heeled boots. Okay, it's kind of hard to see on these smaller 10 by 10s, But thank you for watching with me, and that is how you play the Pic-a-Pix.